Dirty Kiln trail race. Did the half marathon course, which is actually like 13 and a half. Finished second overall in an hour and 45 minutes. Not my best race. Definitely could have did a lot better than I did today. Just didn't have it in me. Made a few mistakes, and some of the other things have been going on, just finally starting to catch up to me. Course was pretty dry this year, probably the driest it's been. Weather-wise, the 4 or 5 years that I did, it's probably been the warmest as well, too. At least at the start. Other years it was a little frosty. This year there's no frost on the ground when we started, so that made it a little bit nicer. Well, more comfortable, we'll put it that way. The only 2 wet spots on the course were right after the first creek crossing and crap, I'm trying to think of the other part of the trail, like Sugarloaf or something area. Those are the only 2 wet spots. Everything else was dry. So it was very runnable and fast this year. Should have been a lot faster. It happens. They ran the course, is what they're calling, in reverse compared to the last couple years. I guess depends on what year you run it, what you figure is the reverse or non-reverse course direction. But this year, what they're calling the reverse direction, you're doing more of the flat to start the race. So like the first 3 or 4 miles, it's more flat. Then if you run it in like the normal direction, it's got the hills right away, which I think made it better, and I think it made the race easier. Some people said it was harder, but from a trail race perspective, I think it made it a lot easier to run, because doing that flattish couple miles to start, you're getting your body warmed up and primed for the hills, whereas before you're just like getting redlined at the hill to start, and then you're doing some of the easier stuff trying to recoup. So you didn't necessarily have to recoup per se, because you're already getting primed and you're not blowing up as much as you normally would if it was in the normal direction. But you never know. So anyway, there was really good competition in the guys today. Like 4 of us took off to start, then 1 dropped off. And there was like 3 of us, me, AJ, and I don't know who the other guy was in a red shirt. We were together basically for the first lap, because you do like a 5 mile plus lap for the 13, which is the 10K course, and then you go out and you do another lap, but it's 8 total miles the second time, because you go in a different section, which gives you the 13 plus miles. So right away it was like AJ, then me at the start, like right ahead. Went down the first like embankment. I actually found an Easter egg. There's Easter eggs all over the course today with like different prizes and some money in it, mostly pennies from what I heard. So you could pick one up, turn one in for prize, or just keep the pennies. I found one like right away, like maybe a quarter mile into the race. So I put it in my waist belt. I got rid of it later because I had the one with pennies, so I could feel the pennies just like circling, making noise. And I was like, all right, I gotta put this. I just threw it down because I was like, I can't deal with this anymore. It was distracting. But so we go over the first like little embankment, like below the one like dam area. I was right behind AJ, and then like when we hit the single track, well, we crossed the creek crossing, like through the mud. I think it was before the first, yeah. Yeah, there was mud. Somehow I passed him in the first single track because I was feeling really good. I had like a energy burst that I went with, which I knew I shouldn't have used it, and I shouldn't have went with it, but I did. Not sure why I used it, but it just came on me, so I was like, I just go with it. And I sort of blew myself up once it went away. I just felt completely drained. My legs were tired after that. So it was a stupid move on my behalf. I never really recovered afterwards. I did recover some, but I didn't fully recover where I had my top end speed anymore. But then I got passed by AJ and whoever this other guy was, but I kept them in sight for the rest of the first lap. I was just like, all right, I'll just hang back, let them do their thing. You know, maybe they'll burn out some energy. Even on the hills a little bit, my legs felt abnormally more tired. It's because I blew up in that first mile or two. Even told some people I went out too hard early on. I shouldn't have been as tired. It was only I got 2,000 feet of gain, you know, roughly, give or take 100 feet over 2,000 or minus. So it was within my wheelhouse, and the course was within my wheelhouse. I just didn't bring my A game. Trying to think what happened. So yeah, I was just basically followed them the rest of the first lap. We, you know, went around the little ponds and that big opening where people were fishing. The other creek crossing before we started the hill. And I was just like power walking the hills, staying with them as they were jogging, doing their thing of it, just keeping them in sight. But I knew I was too hot. My heart rate was like at 166, which is a red line for me. So it was way too high too early in the race. I just was completely overheated, and I was only wearing compression shorts, my naked waist belt, long sleeve shirt, my leg mints, and a hat, calf sleeves. So I wasn't even like layered up, even though it was only like 30 degrees ish to start the race. But it just, like I said, as I just got too hot, I looked at my stomach and I could just feel the heat coming off my stomach. So when I came in from the first loop, like as we were coming into like whatever you want to call it, wherever the finish line, start line is set up, I started taking off my shirt and my leg mints to ditch them because there was no way I was going to run another 8 miles with them on. It was just killing me. I was taking them off, you know, pulling it over my shoulder as I'm running in. Somebody's like, here, I'll take it. I don't even, like, I found out later it was Ben, but at the time I just heard a voice as I just dropped it, because I didn't even care at the point in time what happened to the stuff. I just needed to ditch it so I could cool down. Luckily I didn't get cold too much, because it's only 47 now. It was still probably only 35 the rest of the race. Definitely chilly up there, especially if you're going through a couple creek crossings. You're going to get cooled down. Somehow I didn't get hypothermic or too chilled. But again, I was just so redlined. My heart rate was just pumping so much in that 166 plus range. My body was just dumping the heat out, expelling so much energy. It just never fully recovered being in that redline mode. I just went calorie deficient and energy deficient so early in that first couple miles when I took that speed burst. It just fucked with me the rest of the race. Or else I could have made it a lot closer, tried to make some more moves. But so we did the first loop. I ditched my shirt, and as we're heading out on the second loop, we go through a little bit of brush before we hit like the little embankment and get to the first creek crossing again. And I had AJ and the guy in the red shirt in front of me, and all of a sudden, like, I didn't see the guy in the red shirt anymore. I'm like, where the hell did he go? And then I look back, and next thing I know, he's behind me. So I think he either went the wrong way or something happened where he's like puking or peeing or something. But he just like disappeared. I guess maybe took a wrong turn. I didn't get to ask him. But I found out later he just like ended up having issues and fell back dramatically. I think I don't even know when he finished, but he wasn't even third anymore. Because I didn't even see him after that. So something happened. So I had second after that little thing, and it sort of took me out of race mode as well, because I didn't have the drive, you know, to push. I was like, all right, just hang on to second and play for second instead of trying to go for first. But I know I didn't really have the legs since I burned up too early. And it was the same thing. The mud was a heck of a lot worse in the two spots on the way back. Well, the second loop, you could just feel your ankles just twisting and turning a little bit, just sliding. If you didn't have quick feet, you definitely were going to slip, or at least slide a little bit, like you put your foot in the mud and it would have went like left or right, like a little bit of like a slid because it's on an angle. I think that only happened to me once. Again, if you had to have quicker feet in that mud. You couldn't even ride the edges because everybody was riding the edges of the trail that came through ahead of us, still on the first lap. So it got real shitty, even for us on the start of the second. Kept AJ in view, maybe not in view, but I kept getting glimpses of him here or there. I just never had a push to try to, you know, close the gap at all. Then when we got on some of the hills, like the grassier hills that we run up, I could see him. He only had like 30 seconds or so on the couple that I saw him at. I was like, all right, try to get him, you know, use your hill training to get him. And then every time I just tried to turn it up a notch, I just like blew up again. I think I blew up definitely 3 times, if not 4 times during the race. And it got worse each time. So I kept looking back, playing for second instead of going for first, because I just kept draining myself more and more. And it just wasn't going to help me at all by trying to blow up or run fast, because it just wasn't happening. On hills and stuff that I should have just been able to fly up, I just couldn't do it today. That's what happens when you go hard early instead of playing it smart and hang back and then get your body more warmed up and primed and then decide to make a move. I knew better, whatever. So I just basically played a race for second today. Didn't even push in some of the easier sections. The one single track, probably about 3 miles to go, or 2 miles, somewhere in that range. I did get a little bit more of a burst, and I just felt energized again, and I went with it. But it was too late in the race to do anything. But I'm trying to think other details. I don't know, on the second lap, I did try to go around some people. They're still on the first one. I was trying not to be rude or anything. Instead of calling out left or right, I just didn't have like even the voice at the time to say anything. It was kind of dry. I even drank, Jesus, probably 3/4 of my beverage today. I had some Noon and some water. So probably 18 total ounces. I probably drank 14, 15 ounces for a half marathon. I guess that's a lot for me. Because, I mean, unless I'm taking it from an aid station, like I might use it, but since I had it on my pack, you know, I was only planning on using it when I wanted it. but I went through a lot more than I normally would. So I could tell I was definitely off. I mean, if I'm relying on an aid station, I might drink a little bit more, but that's because I don't know what's going to happen in between aid stations. So that would be the reason for that. But today, since I had 18 on me, I just drank it when I needed it. But I still went through, again, like 14 or 15 of my 18 really quick. So, but I was definitely upset when I came into the finish line with how I performed. I knew I could do a lot better. I'm capable of a lot better. It just wasn't in the cards for me today. Conditions were good enough for me to just like turn and burn the whole race. Yeah, other than that second loop, it was pretty much nothing exciting going on position-wise. Since I never saw anybody behind me in third. After I hit the water crossing, and I saw AJ a few times in front of me on like some of the longer stretches. But like walking the hills and walking some of the other little inclines really killed my time today. Like I did like 145. I should have been able to do like a 140, 138 range. So 138, 140. If I had my A game, I feel like I could have did that, you know, a couple minutes easily on the hills. And just even some of the downhills or the flatter sections, I should have been able to do 6s, and I was doing like 7s plus. It is what it is. I just think like my adrenal fatigue's finally catching up with me. I know it is because I just can't find that extra gear to go on. But other than that, I had fun today. I should have videoed the course. My plan was to run with my GoPro to video it. I didn't do that because I didn't want to lose a minute or two trying to change out the batteries while I was racing it. But I should have did it. It would have been a good video. Crowd was pretty good. I think it was a faster crowd, male and female wise, than last year. At least the females seemed a lot like a nice top end heavy group this year for both races. Not sure how the men were in the 5K. Or the 10K. I didn't really get to look too much into it yet because I don't even know who was even in that 10K for the men. But again, nice atmosphere. Volunteers were good as they always are. There actually seemed, I could be wrong, it seemed like there was a lot more volunteers this year than in years past, and there was a butt ton. Like there's always a ton of volunteers at the race, but it just seemed like there was even more this year. There's a couple the ham radio guys in some different spots this year, so maybe that's why I noticed it, because maybe people weren't grouped together, maybe they were spaced out a little bit more. And there was a couple more people on the course this year, a lot more fishermen around the lake this year than in years past. And it's probably due to the weather. But yeah, everybody seemed like they had a good time. Everything went well. The flagging was pretty good. I didn't have no issues with the flagging, I don't think. Maybe one spot I did, and that's only because I think I just missed a flag. Before I looked up, I was watching my feet, and I think I missed one. but then I saw one a couple seconds later. But other than that, I was in line of sight the whole time with flags. And even the yellow caution tape between the two races, because they always have to take caution tape so people don't like go on the wrong course. That was taken down this year on time. I know I complained about that last year. Had to give them a little bit of a hard time about that. So I think everything this year went really smooth. And the crowd was just really good this year. Again, everybody always gets along up there, so nothing like that ever happens. Yeah. It just seemed like everybody was really receptive this year. Like, again, the ham radio guys, the first responders that were all there, the DCNR guys, even the people fishing seemed like they were very receptive of the race this year. I can't even think of anything to really nitpick out, which I always like to, nitpick about something. Yeah. But I will say again, I think the race course was easier this year than years past, just because, again, you're starting out on that more of a flat, runnable section instead of hills to start. So that might help or hurt people, I guess, depending on your conditioning. But I'd rather do the flat part, bang out some miles real quick, instead of a hill and then try to recoup. But that's just my preference. I guess that's it. I got a cool mug somewhere for finishing second. It's really nice design. I didn't even get to look at the shirt, but I know when I crossed, I laid in the grass for a couple minutes because I was just beat. My body just feels beat more than it normally should. Oh, I did notice a little fat pouch area was jiggling a lot today. I was wearing that naked belt, and just a couple pounds that I have that are a little bit heavier, that little bottom part of my stomach a little looser, and then the naked belt was pushing up. It was just like flapping. I was like, come on! So a couple times I had to adjust that. Oh, and I did have an issue again with my naked belt, like putting the water bottle back in after I drank it. Somehow I flipped it, so it's like I had a twist in like the belt itself. Don't know how I did it, just not paying attention. So that cost me probably 15-20 seconds to fix it properly. But I was just being an asshole, trying to nitpick at little things. I know my calves are a little sore after the race. It's because of that. I think it's because of trying to stabilize on the mud sections. And I think even because of the creek crossings, the water was so cold. I know when it hit my legs, they just went, and like froze up. So it took we'll say like 30 seconds the 4 times we crossed creeks for them to like loosen back up. Be about it. But well, another thing about it being reversed is I think you don't run into as many people. At least I don't think I ran into as many people doing like the 10K course run on the first one as I did in years past, because it's more of like a wider open section instead of like more of like a single track, so you don't have to worry about going around people because it's more of like wide open or double track. So I think that's another plus of it being in that reverse section or reverse way, at least in my opinion. but who knows? Yeah, I'll just wrap it up because I can go on and nitpick about this and that. But I do think my gear choices were correct to start the race, even though I did get overheated. But that was my own fault. But who knows? Could have did better. Should have did better. But at least I got second, so can't really complain losing to AJ. I just would have liked to have felt a little better after the race and not have blown up 3 or 4 times, because it's going to cost me later today when I have to run more.